Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Cosplay Crunch. Each week, we sit down and talk about all things cosplay, including personal experiences, useful tips and advice, horror stories and hot takes, and sometimes the latest news and drama. Before I start, different background for me. I changed everything in here because I got a new monitor. So we'll see how this goes. Maybe no more cameo appearances from Katz and Andrew in the background. I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing. Who knows? Anyway. I am your host, Savage Cosplay, and this week on the podcast, we have two very special guests from the illustrious podcast program, CosPod. I would love for you to meet Amber and Val. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, Internet.
Thank you so much for coming on. I would love for you two to introduce yourselves. Amber, do you want to start?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Amber, otherwise known as Titania Cosplay. I have been cosplaying, I'm very sorry to say this, for 24 years.
Yes.
Bam!
Yeah. You go, girl.
There are fireworks. There are explosions. There's a volcano erupting over there. I see it from my window.
But that is to say that you are never too old for cosplay, so if
Heck
anybody
no.
ever tries to make you feel that way, I'm still doing it. I still love doing it every single day. Please never stop and never lose that passion. And that
What does
is
RuPaul
what I
say?
would be doing.
If they ain't paying your bills, pay them bitches no mind. If they
Yes.
ain't buying your fabric, tell them to go to hell, sister.
And of course, my amazing co-host is...
Aw. My name is Valerie. I go by Tifa Cosplay, Tifa Crafts. You can call me Tifa, call me Val. I'll answer about anything. I've been cosplaying for 17 years. I'm inching my way to the 20-year mark. Multi-award winning cosplayer, and I just like sewing stuff.
When you hit 20, I think that someone owes you an edible arrangement. Maybe we can start. Maybe let's start the cosplay AARP program, and we all pay into it. We all pay into it until we get to the 20-year mark, and then retroactively, Amber will send you an edible as well.
There you go.
Arrangement.
What you do-
Arrangement.
You get one of those little cookie bouquets where they can decorate it like all the cosplays you've done over the last 20 years.
Oh my
you can
God.
Have, like,
Oh my god.
every project you've worked on in front of you as a cookie.
They don't want to do half the shit that I did for A-Kon some years, because some years there were like 6 costumes just for A-Kon. It would be a disaster. I would need to give the cookies away. There would be too many.
You'd have to pay a premium. The more cosplays you make and the more elaborate they are, you have to pay more into your AARP cosplay edible arrangement cookie fund. That's the reality that we're going to go with. No, thank you both so much for being here. I'm so excited. So we just did an episode of the CosPod over at their cosplay program, which we'll share all where you can find that all at the end. But it was so much fun, and it felt like a surreal and honorable moment to be recognized in such way. I was dragged out of the wretches of whatever we have here into the glory of such a long-standing program. So going into that, I actually want to talk about that. First of all, rewind it back. How did you both start cosplaying? Val, how did you start getting into cosplay?
So I started when I first attended A-Kon. I think this would have been like 2006. I started cosplaying in 2007. And I just remember walking into the door. I had just came home from college from summer semester. And my brother was like, hey, I heard about this on the radio. Back when we had radio ads. And I was like, I didn't know that there was an anime convention. Let's just go for a day and see what it's like. And I walked in and I was just flabbergasted at everything that I saw. Just saw so many people dressed up for Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, like all the kitsch 90s shows that were big in the aughts that everybody was cosplaying from. And I was immensely curious because my only knowledge of conventions were trade shows like E3. So I thought that these were people who were being hired to help out with booths.
That's what I'm saying. I thought it was only an invite-only event.
Yeah.
I thought like Comic-Con, E3 were like the only ones.
And it was just like, I had no knowledge of this. So I went up to this woman who's dressed up as Sailor Moon and asked, who are you working for? What booth are you at? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you're dressed up as Sailor Moon. You're obviously here working. She's like, no, I'm in cosplay. And she was so kind and patient and explained cosplay to me and why she was dressed up like this. I learned so much to her. And every time I tell the story, I'm like, wherever you are, Sailor Moon, thank you. You have brought me into your fold. I hope you're doing well. I'm sure you're like 50 by now, but you're probably doing very well. And then after that, I was sold on it. I wanted to make my first costume the following year. I went as Misato from Evangelion. I had a blast, and I just kept on going.
Live. And do you remember where that A-Kon was? Like what venue it was at?
This was at the Anatole. No, not the
No,
Anatole.
that would have been the Adams
Sheridan.
Mark.
Yeah, it was the
The
Adams Mark at the
Adams
time,
Mark.
and then it became the Sheridan.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Sheraton that's in downtown Dallas, that was A-Fest's location up until this year. Actually.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Amber, how did you start? Like what got you into being a clown with the rest of us?
I am a massive Rennie. I am a Ren Fair aficionado. I have been ever since high school. And so I actually started as a costumer, not as a cosplayer, because I didn't know what cosplay was at the time. And once you've spent a few years at fair and kind of gotten to know the Playtrons and starting to get in character when you go, so it's not just, yeah, I'm putting on the outfit and the poofy sleeves and everything. It's like affecting the accent and getting into the mindset of the medieval. And it's like, okay, this is something I dig. This is something I could do and enjoy it. And I had done that for several years before I knew of A-Kon, because A-Kon was also my first convention.
Gotcha.
And I didn't realize that they also dressed up. I had thought it was limited to like movie reenactors and LARPing and that sort of thing. So once I saw that, hey, anime fans do this too, it's like, oh, I have found my community.
Oh my gosh, that's that's so funny that you started that way, because a few episodes ago we had one of my friends on, Sarah. Her handle's Feels Bender, and she's going the opposite way. Like she started in the anime like cosplay scene, and now she's become a Rennie. And I had never heard that term before that episode, and the fact that you called it Years at the Fair, and I'm like, okay, that's how you know it's legit. When you're referring to it as the fair, that's how you know she's the real
You can
one.
hear the capital T, capital F.
Yes.
The fair.
The fair.
No, I love that. So are you a big like Texas Renfest goer then? And the one in Houston, that's like north of Houston, I guess?
That I haven't been down to TRF in a few years, and pandemic was a big part of that, because fair just really wasn't as much of a thing during pandemic. But I have gone multiple times now in the past couple of years, now that things are kind of getting back to normal, as it were.
Yeah.
And so I haven't been down camping yet. I have to replace all my camping gear. But if that tells you like how much of a Rennie I am, that I go down and camp out there,
She camps.
so I can spend the weekend. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
she does it legit.
I don't know about that. I don't know about on the floor.
I am not a camping person. I'd be like, you got to put me up in the Holiday Inn. I would not do
that
that.
bad. It's
I know
really
you
not
say
that,
but I'm a wuss.
And then, oh my gosh, imagine like getting in the wigs and everything and like corsets out of the tent.
Yeah.
I don't do wigs. I do my natural hair because, at least at the time, my hair was all the way down to the bottom of my back, so I could. The corsets are a problem. Mostly because I have to lace myself, which is really hard to do. If you've ever tried lacing a back lace corset by yourself,
it's
a little
challenge.
difficult. It's a challenge.
I holler. I'm like, Andrew, help with this one.
Please
I'm like,
help
Andrew,
me.
help me. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I usually end up, once I get up to the gates of fair, one of the Playtrons will take pity on me, and they're like, can I help you, milady, with your corset? No, yes, please.
Yes, please.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. No, I'm excited to go. I haven't been to Renfest in like years and years and years. Certainly since before COVID. I kind of always wanted to go to the one in Chicago. I never made it. The Bristol one, I think is what it's called.
I think that's the name of it.
Yeah, but TRF this year, I want to make it happen. So no, it's awesome. So that's how you started in cosplay. And have you been pretty consistent ever since your start? And by consistent, I mean like, were there ever points in time in which you kind of stopped for like a year or more and like departed from cosplay and came back? Or have you always been kind of working on things like consistently throughout the time? Like have you always been involved in some way in the cosplay community since?
Ooh, big question.
You want to go first? You've been the more consistent of the two of us.
Yeah, I would say for me, I've been consistent, but I have changed the pacing of how much I make my costumes, because early on it was like, I want to make as many costumes as possible. But I was also in my mid-20s, and I was like, I had all the energy in the world to do this. And now that I am 40, I don't have that kind of energy. Plus, I got a full-time job and I got mortgages to pay for and bills. And it's like, I got to pace myself a little bit differently. It's fine. I've also noticed that I haven't really had a social media presence as much as I used to, because once upon a time I was like posting constantly because I just love images and sharing that and getting involved and meeting new people that way. These days, I'm like, if I post once a month, that's a miracle. I just share what I want to share, and that's fine. People know that I'm still alive and they engage with it, and that's cool with me. So I think I've been consistent enough. I haven't really taken a break from cosplay. It's just the time frame it takes me to make a costume, like something that maybe would have taken me a month. Now I just kind of just go at my own pace. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year.
Right.
It's casual. It gets done when it gets done.
Right. Amber, what about you?
I am completely off social media for reasons. And so I don't generally have a forum with which to post my progress. And admittedly, my progress has been a little slow in the last couple of years. And part of that is simply because I like making very tailored cosplays that suit my body shape and my proportions and such, which unfortunately, when you get older, change often, more often than a cosplayer might like. And so I keep having to make adjustments and undo what I've done and then redo it again, only to have it change again. And it's very frustrating, admittedly. And I think I just need to have a different approach for it. But also because I just haven't really been to conventions in the last couple of years. And generally as a cosplayer, like half the reason you make the cosplay is because you want to show it off, right? You want to show people, hey, I did this amazing work and I want to show that I am a fan of insert character here. But I haven't really done that in the last few years. And so I don't really have a forum with which to show off my cosplays. Yes, you can always go and get a professional photo shoot done at a location of your choice and get really nice pictures. And anybody who wants really nice pictures of your cosplay, I highly recommend getting a professional photo shoot done. It's worth the money.
Yeah.
But I mean, outside of that, I haven't really had a forum with which to show off my cosplays, so I haven't just had that motivation and drive, I think, to work as hard on them as I might have. But hopefully that will be changing. I know that this is Anime Fest's last year, and so I am debating pulling some of my cosplay out of storage and maybe making an appearance, because it's something that I would love to give a send-off. Yeah, I want to kind of give it a good send-off.
We're sentimental to it, too, because that's the convention where we first met each other at.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
So
we're
talking about where CosPod was born. We're
gonna talk all about A-Fest later because we have to. But no, I get it completely, because like honestly, I think that there is such a part of community of using social media, and I will say, like, if we ignore like the dark side of the moon, we look at the bright side. There is such a part of social media that does allow for us to build a community and motivate each other and ask for help and get feedback, and there is a very nice symbiotic relationship between cosplayers in a large part of the social media sphere. Obviously there's a lot of negatives to social media for sure. I'm sure a lot of those are probably why you don't engage with it anymore, but have you ever thought about doing like a website for yourself for your cosplays, or
your own
maybe
personal portfolio?
Us personally, as in not the podcast, right?
No, for like your own personal portfolio, just to have like your work and like shown, and like your costuming work over the years and things like that.
I've debated. I think the hard problem with me is that I do freelance on occasion with website design. So I'm so used to doing it for other people that I just kind of get tired of the prospect of doing it for myself. And like, I know there's Wix and I know there's easy WordPress templates that I could just kind of slap it together and go, but I am such a perfectionist. I can't do that. It would take me so long to build the website before I even uploaded my first photo that I'm constantly debating. And I'm like, do I really want to put myself through that? No. But I do like the idea of it. I know a bunch of our mutual friends do have their own websites, specifically so that they have a place where their content is curated. They can have full claim on it. They don't have to worry about if Instagram decides to shut down one day. There goes everything they've ever posted. And I like that thought. So that's what's kind of got me into like, okay, maybe I can do it. But also, no, because it's too much work.
Oh my gosh. Amber, what about you? Have you ever thought about making a website? Especially since you're not on social media. Have you ever thought about making that for yourself?
I have. And my issue is similar to Val's. And it's that I have a lot of other things that consume a lot of my time.
Mm-hmm.
The resources aren't an issue. Like, I can always take progress shots, even though I'm terrible at remembering to take progress shots. Anyone who's ever seen my social media when I had one will attest to this, that I'm terrible at uploading progress shots. But having to remember to upload constantly and having to keep up my website with fresh material and interact with people, it's the same kind of thing that you have with social media, just on a website instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I could consistently keep up with it enough for it to be of use to people. Now, I'm not one to toot my own horn. I really don't like talking about myself or showing my stuff, but I really like teaching people, and I really like talking shop with people.
She is a fantastic teacher. Like,
I am a good teacher.
I will talk the hell up about Amber. She is a wonderful teacher. One of the first cosplay panels I watched was one of hers at A-Kon. And then that's how I got interested in learning more about her. And I was like, wait, I think I know this chick from the cosplay.com forums.
The cosplay.com forums. Wait, let's bring it back.
Forums.
Let's bring back cosplay.com and let's only use that from now on. That sounds better.
Them because it was so much better before Facebook had fan pages and then groups and everybody congregated on cosplay.com. There was so much information there that's lost to time, and
yeah, some of the tutorials went to the abyss.
And instead of hosting my own website, like, every couple of years I debate, should I host my own forums? Not my own website, but to basically have the equivalent of cosplay.com, but bring it back. Foster that sense of community, have all the tutorials, the blogs, have all the resources. Where can I buy LEDs? Where are the best places for wigs? How about some reviews on this new cosplay shop? Like, have all of that information in one place. Every couple of years I get the itch, and then I realize I would have to have a lot more money and time and hire a bunch of people if I wanted to do this.
Yeah, I think people have had a similar idea, or at least a need for that. And I say that because I'm in a few, at least, Discord servers that are all catered towards cosplayers. And I think that a Discord server is not a substitute for an entire website by any means, but it at least allows for a forum of people in a similar sense to have a pseudo cosplay.com, if you will, because there are like sub threads for like, oh, like conventions coming up or competitions or like resources or this and that and the other. So I think that, like, I am in a few of those, and I think that cosplayers want to, like, congregate and want to make those connections with one another. But yeah, I entered cosplaying right when cosplay.com was like being usurped by Facebook pages and groups. Yeah. So like I had a cosplay.com membership just because I made one right when it was dying. And then Facebook pages became the thing. And then that was all the rage. Yeah. And now those are gone too. Well, not gone, but like, you know, they're
stagnant. Like, I have mine and I just look at it and go, yeah, you exist. I don't do anything with you.
In 2018, I posted a thing and I was like, all right, girls, it's been fun. We're not using this anymore.
We're going somewhere else.
Go to Instagram instead. It's like the bar is closed. You don't have to. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay
here.
and I'll use it. I'll use it for tags, or like if I'm a guest at a convention, I'll like cross post onto it, but literally only for that. And that's just because like conventions want you to have social media like presence to push things out. But, like,
sure.
You know. Have you ever done panels before? Like, if you like teaching so much and that's a passion of yours, a panel is something that does not require you to like have that like social media posting and all that. So have you done those? Have you thought about bringing that back into conventions?
Amber is like the teacher master. She is so great at them.
I taught for many years at A-Kon. I was a pretty regular panelist at A-Kon every year, until Val told me I had to stop bringing my entire closet full of props and teaching materials with me, because when I do panels in person, I really like to bring visual aids and show people what it is I'm talking about. But that would usually involve me ending up having to bring a hand truck to the convention every year with all of these paper ream boxes full of show and tell aids.
Oh, man.
And so eventually she had me stop doing that. And
it was for her own sanity, because she would complain about it every single time.
And it was, because I had to haul it up and down an elevator.
Yeah, it was always for the good of the panel. The one thing I appreciate about Amber and her teaching style is that she's very good about trying to engage everybody regardless of what their learning style is. So if you're a visual learner, she's got something for you. If you are somebody who likes to read a lot, she's got something for you. If you're tactile, she's got something for you. So I understand like why she brought everything with her, but also it was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this was also before the era of when everyone's on their phones. And so I didn't necessarily have as much to worry about with keeping folks' attention as you're teaching, because if you go to panels now, everyone's on their phone. And it's not necessarily meant as disrespect to the speaker. That's just simply like the culture, the way it is now, is that people are constantly getting information on their phones. And so it was a little easier, I think, when I was teaching. And you can see, if you really want to see my panels way back in the day when I taught, there are recordings on our show channel on YouTube. Yep. So if you want to go watch, you can.
I think I found one. Wait. Oh no, girl. Oh my god. Oh my god. I went on YouTube. Wait. I went to your YouTube and I went back and it was like, oh my god. It looked like it was filmed on like a Nokia flip phone. And the figures were only like like they were like, it was figures. That's all I always say. And they had like the stage, everyone was there. You were probably in them teaching, and I was just like, this is literally a historical document. This is like the footage of the Titanic. This is the equivalent of those millionaires going down in the Titanic to get their photos before it crumbling in themselves. That was the footage I found on YouTube of the panels. It was so
pretty
good.
Much.
No, I mean, but I think you can probably do a modified, right? Like you could probably do a scaled down version of how many resources and tools you bring to a panel, but still do your panel. Because I think that because you have such an experience teaching and you have so much to share, I think you should, I mean, if you still enjoy it, you should still like, I would encourage you to keep going to conventions and submitting panels and bringing information because, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is probably really valuable and I'm sure people would enjoy it at least.
It is. We've actually kind of opted to do a lot of it on YouTube now for a couple of reasons. One is because that way it's available to everyone and not just people who go to the con, because anytime we record at conventions, it still takes us a little time to upload it.
Right.
And we generally have to edit it as well, assuming that the con lets us record. Not every con will let us record.
Right.
So there's that. But also, I don't know if the audience members have been to a con lately, but it's extraordinarily expensive nowadays.
Oh,
and that's assuming that not every con will give a free badge to a panelist anymore. Some cons don't compensate panelists at all. And so not only do you have to buy the badge, but you also have to pay for parking, you have to pay for food.
Lots of them.
You have to pay for a lot of things, and it's in addition to the costs of putting together the panel.
Right.
And I'm not trying to imply that, I'm only going to teach if I get paid. That's not it. It's that I have to budget for that in addition to any other cons that I'm going to for like, personal pleasure.
For sure.
And so it's a little harder nowadays to go do it in person. It's actually a lot easier for us to do it via our show on YouTube now.
And I think we do a lot of that too, especially since we kind of tweaked our format. So we're doing more in-depth tutorials and reviews. And because of that, I think we're getting a lot more out of it by taking the time to really go, okay, step by step, here we go. I know I've done a lot more online panels, especially during the pandemic with a couple of conventions. But even before then, I mean, I still enjoy the thought of teaching. I haven't really done it in a little bit, but the online version of it, again, because it's like what Amber said, the fact that it can be readily available to everybody. I don't have to worry about it just being limited to the handful of people that are sitting in the room. I think both Amber and I can agree that we are very much the type of educators that information should be free and accessible. Yeah. We want everybody to be able to learn, regardless of age, gender, money, all that stuff. Uh-oh. Paused.
All right. We're back. I don't know if we cut this out or not. We'll see what happens. What were we talking about?
I don't even remember. We were talking about teaching panels at conventions.
Making it free and accessible to everyone.
Free and accessible for all that aren't going to the convention specifically, and having those resources available on your YouTube channel for everyone to be able to access.
And we don't only record ours because
we record everybody.
Yeah, we're not full of ourselves. We record a ton of other panels from some really talented teachers from all over the country and all over the world. And you can go see all of those on our channel. So it's not just us teaching. There's a whole variety of things. There's wig making, there's makeup, you can find how to do Lolita. You can find all sorts of sewing panels, prop making panels, leather working.
Yeah, I think the leather working is actually
embroidery.
our highest viewed video out of all of our
Yes.
stuff,
And
even
that's on
including our podcast.
CosPod or where?
Yep.
That's,
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
On our YouTube. Yep.
Yes.
Oh wow, I didn't know those resources were available. That's really awesome.
We do it specifically to make them available to everyone because we
Mhm.
believe knowledge should be shared. That's one of the driving forces behind CosPod, which I
Yep.
know we'll get to later with the origins of the podcast. But not only that, but if you go to conventions nowadays, this is a constructive criticism. A lot of the panels that are offered are like Cosplay 101, Sewing 101, Everything 101. And it's like, that's fantastic. But we know that there are other cosplayers that have moved beyond that and are looking for more, or cosplayers that are looking for something very specific, like leatherworking. If they want to go and make leather armor because they went and saw the live action Zelda movie that's coming out and they thought the costume was amazing and they want to make one.
Wait a minute.
How do I go find that information?
Wait. Time out. Live action Zelda movie.
Yes.
That's a thing?
Yes. No joke.
Stop.
Go look it up.
Girl, okay, you said that, and then I was like, we have to stop right now, or else it's all I'm gonna think about. Holy shit. Okay, anyway. No, I mean, I get that. I get that 100%, because it's like we as creatives and crafters, we want sometimes the specifics, right? Like I want to go and learn about something specific, but at the same time, I get the lower entry level content because that's more mass appeal, right?
They're still needed.
They're still needed. We're not
Just
saying
we
let's
would
miss them entirely.
Right. We're saying we need both. Like when you learned your corset making, it would have been fantastic to have a class on corsetry 101.
And I took a class like that at a convention. That's how I learned how to make corsets.
Right. No, 100%. I agree. Because it's like, yeah, I get that, like, you have to be able to provide content that will apply to and bring in as many people as you can from one perspective, but from the perspective, a good convention, especially one that caters towards cosplayers, if that even exists as such a thing. I know that you all hypothesized and theorized about that fantasy convention, but but yeah, it's like we do want more specific content, but it can be hard to get the convention to accept it too, because they're like, well, we want content that will apply to as many people as possible. And it's like, well, I want to do one on kumihimo braiding. It's like, is anyone going to go to that? I mean, I probably would, but I don't know.
There might be like 5 or 10 people that show up, which already is 5 or 10 more people than I would anticipate. So, hey, let's do it.
Well, and that's also the thing. If it's a small class, that can also be a ripe opportunity to be more hands-on and then maybe even do it in the class too. Like if it's a small class and you're doing like leather stamping or something, that might be enough people to bring little samples and like do it.
Yeah. Those are the fun classes.
Yeah. So
We've
I mean, I don't know.
Workshops.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
We've got one that's specifically on like shibori dyeing, and that's also another one of those highly rated watch videos, which is really funny. And it was a complete tutorial and how to and workshop.
Now you don't see us like doing it on camera. We didn't film the hands-on like us doing it part, but we filmed everything else.
Yeah.
Gotcha. No, I mean, look, Amber, I encourage you to when feasible and when practical for you and it works into your schedule, get back into these cons and bring the value that we need, because I think you'd be a phenomenal add to any convention. Like, I mean, we've seen some of the dumpster fires. We know. It's like, not to say the bar is low, but no.
Let's not start into dumpster fires. We'll be here all night.
Oh my God, I know. Okay, so I want to talk about changes to, and maybe we'll focus on the Texas. So have you both always been involved in the Texas cosplay community, or have you lived in other states?
For the most part.
Yeah, it's been the Texas cosplay community. I have been a guest and done judging at other conventions out of state, but I've been Texas only. Okay,
how have you seen, like, I guess, what are some major things you've seen change over the years from when you entered and became involved in the cosplay community to like today? Because I know, and I have thought about this in past episodes personally before, and there are some very specific things I think that have changed, and I don't know if it's how I've interacted with the community or if it's like the community in general has morphed. But like, what are some major, I guess, pivotal things you've noticed that have changed in the Texas con scene from your years?
I think for me, what I have seen that it's been a bit more difficult in trying to cultivate a community. It was so much easier just even a couple of years ago before pandemic. And maybe it's because of the pandemic. Maybe it's because conventions haven't changed a whole lot. I don't know. But it seems like before the pandemic, I was in a bunch of Facebook groups. And there were a bunch of us that were local cosplayers that were doing this, doing that we had a bunch of events, not just at conventions, but outside conventions. And we had meetups and we had sewing parties. And it was just so much easier and much more organic in the way we all came together. Whereas now it feels like I'm having to pull teeth just to kind of figure out what's going on outside of the con. Mm-hmm. Or even if there's like any like group gatherings for like certain fun franchises. And it's even, I've heard from friends and some of our acquaintances that it's like, what used to be the cosplay gatherings are just not even feeling the same anymore. People show up to get their picture and they leave. They don't really stick around to have conversations, get to know each other. I'm like, I wouldn't have met any of you people as my friends if we didn't have our Ace Attorney meetup. Like, what? Like that's part of the joy of cosplaying, is meeting all you weirdos and us having clown time together.
Exactly. Clown Town needs a town.
Yes. So it's like, it just feels like that aspect of it really isn't there anymore. And it could just be that maybe I've aged out of it. Maybe it's just the community is kind of split into different directions. Maybe it's just the way people are approaching cosplay is differently. I don't know. But it feels like just trying to meet new people and start those conversations and have those gatherings just doesn't feel organic anymore. It's like it's almost not there.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. What do you think, Amber?
I think the size has definitely changed. Like, it was big when we first started out, but it's enormous now, which, if you're a convention looking for convention guests, is amazing because it means you have so much talent to choose from now. It also means that cosplayers have a lot of options now with all the different cons in Texas. But to Val's point, it seems a little harder to get the focus to stay on cosplay because conventions in Texas and all around the United States, at least, have been kind of edging away from having a spotlight on cosplay. It used to be that every con would have a cosplay track. They'd all have a cosplay contest. Some of them would even have a cosplay catwalk in addition to the contest.
Right.
And then you'd have a bunch of very high-profile cosplay guests that were meant as a draw from all around the world. Like, not just U.S. guests. They actually reached into their pockets pretty deeply for international guests, too. But now you're lucky if conventions have a cosplay track at all. A lot of them will have cosplay panels, so you'll get the cosplay 101s, but you might have 5 or 6 panels in total over the entire weekend.
Oh, and yeah, if that.
There's a lack of... There used to be a bunch of organized cosplay meets where you could sign up for a time slot because there were so many cosplay groups wanting to get pictures. Now there is no spreadsheet. Everybody just kind of does what they want to do if they feel like doing it, and there's no organization to it. There's a cosplay contest. It's usually fairly small. The prizes are usually fairly small. The number of participants is also usually very small.
Yeah, unless you get to like big Uber overdrive cons, yeah.
Right. And so it seems like where there was this really huge drive towards cosplay pretty shortly before pandemic, like in the few years before pandemic, after pandemic, it seems like much more of almost an afterthought. And it hurts me a little inside because cosplay is such a great way not only to celebrate fandom, regardless of the kind of fandom, because you can have anime fandom, you can have comic fandom, you have sci-fi fandom. All of them have cosplay. So you can share fandom that way. But like you've mentioned, it's also a great way of building community, because what better way to make friends than seeing somebody cosplay from a series that you love? And you don't know that person's name, but you know that they like something that you do too. And that
it's a great conversation
is the start of on the same wavelength.
For sure. No, for sure. No, I think that like something I've noticed too is, I don't know. I feel like before, like, I want to say maybe in like 2015, 2016, 17, I met a lot of friends at conventions in person. And now I feel like a lot of my first meetings are like online on social media, and then I see them in person at a convention, which is like backwards from how it was before. But I don't know why, because I go to just as many conventions as I did before the pandemic, and I feel like I interact with them in pretty much the same way. But I don't know, I guess, what's changed or how the overall demographic has shifted. I don't know if more people are just like not properly adjusted, and so they're just like, I need to rely on social media DMs because I don't know,
I can't handle it in person.
I don't know
It might
but,
be a budget thing too, because back in the day when we went to conventions, it was like $40 for a weekend.
Right.
Nowadays,
God, I miss those days.
100 is cheap for a
I
weekend.
miss those days.
And so the days when I could go to 6 conventions in a year are long gone. Now I'm lucky to make 2.
Yeah, no, I completely, I see that too, and I'm like, Mama, they want how much for this piece of plastic? I'm like,
and that's just to get in the door, and I have to spend more money.
And what are we getting from this piece of plastic, sir? Like, I don't know. I get it. And here's the thing. I firmly believe in supporting good cons.
Yes, 1,000%.
Like cons that actually try to deliver programming and value. I think that we should support them. We should pay to go, and we should be there. I mean, obviously, you shouldn't go just as a charity case. Like, they should be doing well, but it's assuming that they're actually delivering value. You should go. And I always try to do that with the conventions that I think are really standouts. And then there are the conventions that are clearly just here for a cash grab. Yeah. And they're like, how much money can we rake in as quickly as possible before we fade into obscurity or go bankrupt, I guess, which kind of is antithesis to the point. Don't know what's happening there. No, but that makes sense. I don't know. I miss the days sometimes of being a baby cosplayer and going out to the park in a Facebook group. They were like, oh, we're all going to go to this park and meet up. And we're going to bring, like, photographers are going to show up. Cosplayers are going to show up. No one's cosplaying from the same thing. No one really knows each other. But we're going to just, like, do photos and meet and then go all get dinner after. Like, I remember those days.
Yeah, we actually had a barbecue one that we set up for CosPod. Like, I don't even remember what year we did. Barbacon. That's what we called it. And it was, like, just a couple of hours in a public park, and people brought food, and we just chatted with people. That's all we did.
We had a swap meet.
Yeah,
we actually brought stuff for a swap meet.
Oh my god! Does San Japan used to do a swap meet, and that was the first one I ever went to. I wonder if they still do that.
I don't know if San Japan does. I know it's gone kind of out of style with cons, but people are trying to bring it back in. Actually, funny enough, with our recent interview that we had, more people are trying to be environmentally conscious. Yeah. And like, we have all of these costumes and accessories and materials, but we don't want to throw them out. And like, now is a great time to have swap meets again, so we can start sharing stuff. We don't want our costumes to go to the landfill. We want someone else to wear them.
Right. Assuming they're like not like degrading in front of your face.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. No, I want those back. Okay. I want to talk about hot topics. So first, we're going to hit the easy one first. And I have to go to my phone to get the images. Oh my God. Let me see. All right. A-Kon. Let's talk about A-Kon for a minute. So everyone on this program probably has heard over the past episodes that we've mentioned here and there, but A-Kon canceled this year. It was supposed to be last weekend, actually, I think. That's DreamHack was last weekend. I think they were normally on the same weekend.
Yeah, usually.
Actually, maybe they were scheduled for this weekend. I don't remember.
I can't remember.
I don't remember what they were originally scheduled for. It was either last weekend or this weekend. Anyway, that being said, they canceled. TLDR, financial issues.
Yes.
That's just like the summary of what happened. But they released a statement today. Hi, everyone. An update on refunds is very overdue. We are still facing some unexpected challenges, and we are actively engaged with the board of investors to find a resolution, as well as working on new avenues that could help speed up the process. The plan is to still issue refunds for all registrations for A-Kon 34, and we are actively working to make that happen as soon as possible. We know the wait's frustrating, and we ask for your continued patience while we fight behind the scenes to resolve the issue. We know the updates are coming slow and have less information than we would all like, but the A-Kon team is still here, and we're still working on it. We've been told to expect an update very soon, and we'll pass the info along as soon as we get it. We love you guys. Talk to you soon. All that being said, a lot of words.
A lot
the
of words.
TLDR of that is no refunds yet. We'll do our best.
Basically that.
I guess, what do you... First of all, did either of you buy a badge to A-Kon that you're waiting on a refund for?
No. I have not been to A-Kon in a long time, and it's mostly because of personal reasons, and the location is ass.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up ass.
Mm-hmm.
And I refuse to go back there. Every time I've gone there in the past for other conventions or even work events, like I've had a work Christmas party at that convention center before, I would always get sick. And I don't want to go there ever again because they don't do anything with their air quality control.
Girl, the cesspool. It's the inverse
awful.
of the CDC. Amber, you didn't have a badge either.
I didn't. And the majority of that is due to the same or similar reasons that Val mentioned, but also because as a person, I'm highly claustrophobic. And so the original location for A-Kon in Fort Worth was already bad enough with 22,000 people crammed into the Fort Worth Convention Center. Trying to cram them into an even smaller space
not meant for
is a no-go for me as somebody who's highly claustrophobic. But also because I don't know how many of your audience members have been in Texas in the summer. But
a lot.
It has been getting hotter earlier than normal.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't have that many cosplays that will survive a Texas summer with me in them, let alone me surviving the summer on my own without being in cosplay. And the notion of cosplaying at the beginning of June with it being 95 degrees and 60-70% humidity outside, I was just like, not worth.
I think that convention center is the actual root of all evil.
It is.
And I
so is.
It's insidious, dark-sided, and there's something truly diabolical about going into that building, because the moment I learned to get to the second floor, I had to go up 4 levels and then back down 2, and they had to monitor the number of people getting on and off the escalator for fear of them breaking.
Yes.
Girl, it was over. I was like curtains.
Before Fan Expo bought out Dallas Comic Con had their conventions there, and even
and they died too.
Yeah. So like the thing was like they had a separate one called Sci-Fi, which was like their smaller version, and it was just sci-fi only. Great. So like it was only like a fraction of the crowd, maybe half of the size. Even then, the escalators were breaking down, and they still had to make sure that they were careful about the number of people going up. And you can walk around pretty freely, but I just remember then it was like...
I can one-up that, Val. Do you remember the early years of A-Fest and A-Kon when they would just preemptively turn them off?
Yes!
They didn't even give them time to break. They just assumed
would just turn them
there
off.
were so many people that they just would never turn them on.
Yep.
Oh my god.
So they were stairs the whole time during the entire convention.
Time. That would have been better if they were in convention center just turned them off and made them stairs.
Though, oh my god, that convention center, so tragic. And like also
it's so sad.
It's so small, but it looks so big. It occupies so much square footage, but there's nothing inside. It's like an empty promise.
It's an illusion. It's an optical illusion.
That whole convention ended up being an illusion near the end. Oh my god. So do you think it's coming? Do you think they're gonna like actually bring it back like next year? Do you think there's a hope and a prayer? Like, what is your like outside of like any insider information? I guess I don't really have any like inside tea other than like the financial problems and like all that. But like, do you think there's a likelihood for it coming back next year and like revitalizing itself, or do you think it's pretty much curtains for it?
It's hard to really say, because I know this is something that once the announcement came up, another friend posted it on Facebook, and we immediately started going into discussion over it.
Yeah.
It's taking them this long to issue refunds. That's a concern. Like, that immediately set up my red flag. Like, okay, you guys are a pretty big convention. This should already have been done. Case closed. We move on to the next point. If we're having problems just issuing refunds to customers, there is some serious trouble going on behind the scenes. And I don't know if you can recover from it. If they even consider recovering from it, they need to scale down drastically and just do a reset, start over, make it a smaller event, and build your way back up. Because obviously something is wrong. We may not know all the specifics, but a refund should not be taking this many months.
Right, because they announced this, like in February?
February, like January, February, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Amber, do you think it's coming back?
Honestly, no. And the biggest reason that I think it's not is that the economy is kind of stagnant. and a lot of the people that would normally make plans to go to A-Kon just can't right now because there are other things that are more of a priority for them in their lives, and totally understandable. Not criticizing that in the least. And it's not unique to A-Kon. I mean, there are a lot of cons that have gone under in the last year simply because they're just not bringing in enough money to sustain themselves. And it's largely because people just can't afford to go to cons right now because there are other more important things, understandably.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, combined with the fact that if A-Kon wants to stay the size it was, there aren't that many places in Dallas-Fort Worth that can hold a convention that big unless they're going to hold it in like Cowboy Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to have a lot of trouble getting a venue to hold this. And then if you get a venue that size, you have to fill it, not with people, but with content, with guests, with vendors, with all of the, accoutrements that come with cons. And, given those same economic troubles, a lot of vendors are cutting back on the cons they go to because you have to make enough money to pay for your table.
Right.
Same thing with guests. And, not everybody's able to offer panel content right now. So I totally get it. And I do feel very sad, not only because A-Kon was my first con, but because A-Kon has a lot of history behind it.
Right.
And I feel bad having that leave the community. But, if A-Kon is able to come back as a smaller but successful version of itself, I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
And I will cheer that on. I'm just not so sure if it's possible right now. Maybe they could wait a couple of years, let their finances get a little more stable, and then try and make a comeback smaller. That's fine too.
Yeah, it's possible. It's so sad. I feel like there should be like a docu-series or something on like A-Kon because it's the oldest, longest, well, I guess was now technically, was the longest running anime convention in North America. And it was really impressive at its like height. Like I would say like the Anatole days.
The Anatole days. Yeah, I was staff then.
Mm-hmm. It was so nice. And then, I mean, when it moved to Fort Worth, definitely like not as well organized, but still still a large convention, still multiple hotels, still programming and everything. And then I think the nail in the coffin really was the Fair Park move. When they went to the fairgrounds in the middle of the summer and they had 110-degree heat and people running around the building, and there was that I think was the writing on the wall. And then ever since then, and then the Irving Convention Center, that's the coffin for the convention. Like Irving Convention Center is convention coffin, which is why WeebCon's going there next year if they're out of bankruptcy court. We'll see.
We'll see what happens. I know Asian from Cosplay in America, as of late, he has been going around and photographing like first hotels for conventions. He's been doing A-Kon. He actually came up here, I think over the weekend, to go photograph the first A-Kon hotel. And he's been looking for like all the old A-Kon material, like send me your photos, send me like any of like the maps and the program guides, because he's just collecting all of this so he could share it with everybody on the internet. And I'm like, good, keep doing that. And he's doing that for a bunch of other older cons too. I think that kind of stuff is cool.
He's basically doing the documentary of
it.
Just with photographs.
I'm gonna DM him, be like, when is this docuseries coming out, sis? Cosplay in America, the story of A-Kon.
Fun.
Okay, second hot topic, A-Fest. So I'm really excited to be a cosplay guest at A-Fest this year.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, I'm also super sad that it's the last one. I know. So I'll read this. This was announced 4 days ago. Please join us on July 25th through the 28th for our last large and hopefully best anime fest ever. Let's make memories that will last a lifetime. And the image says, the last Anime Fest ... After 32 amazing years, the Anime Fest team has decided that the upcoming 2024 convention will be our last large-scale event. Moving forward, the nonprofit World Fandom Organization will focus its efforts on more scaled-down affairs. So please join us on July 25th through the 28th for our last large and hopefully best Anime Fest ever. We touched on this at the beginning. What are your thoughts? Like when you saw this announced, like, were you shocked? Because I was honestly shocked.
Yes.
I was not.
Oh, you weren't?
Val was
I was
not.
shocked.
I was stunned.
not. I was not surprised.
Wait,
but
okay, so Val, you go first. Go first.
It's because I have behind the scenes knowledge.
Because you have a.
I know people who still work there, who are still staff members there, and even last year they were saying our finances are not good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's possible that stuff is going down behind the scenes. We don't know yet. And I've also been scouted to be the cosplay director there once upon a time. And even then, the thing that I can say is the board of directors has a really hard time with change. And they are very much against wanting to update anything with the convention. And I think that's the biggest reason why it's downfall and why they've had declining attendance over the years. I don't think it's just a COVID thing, because a lot of people who've gone to A-Fest will say the same thing. Yeah, it's a nice, cozy, comfy con. We like the fact that there are tables and chairs everywhere, that it's not crowded. You could just talk to anybody. You meet a bunch of people. Like, we love that atmosphere with it. But it was very noticeable, especially last year, that there was a lot of empty space and not a whole lot of people. And it's just because they're not changing their content. They're not updating their programming. They're not getting with modern times on their systems and registration. And everything is just so archaic and outdated. You can even look from their social media posts. It is so A-Fest, but it is so 2000s. And yeah, that's everything that A-Fest is. Right. And I that's why I was like, it's going to happen. I don't want them to go away. And I'm glad that they're looking into doing smaller events, because I personally have been doing like a lot of pop-up markets lately, and those have been fun. And if they could do that route, I think that'll be very successful for them. Have a one-day, Japanese market. Great. Maybe have a costume contest. I've seen more of those happening too. Like, that would be fine. I think that would be a good route for them. But I saw it. I knew it was coming. It was going to happen.
Yeah. And then Amber, you were shocked like me. So like, what was your reaction? Like I guess, yeah. What did you think when you saw this?
Val was actually the one who texted it to me.
I did.
And my answer was end of an era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was stunned, yes, but very sad, because A-Kon was my first con, but A-Fest was my favorite con.
Yeah, A-Fest was the favorite.
And it was because of that uber relaxed vibe that it had, where you could just sit and people watch if you wanted to. You could go attend a panel. You could just veg out with friends at one of the food trucks. It was all very chill compared to the hustle and bustle that was A-Kon. And so I would always very much enjoy A-Fest. And so seeing it go like this, in addition to all of the other cons I've seen close shop, is very sad. Because I also know that it will probably be some time before conventions make a comeback. Because I want to see the cons.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are having a lot of financial trouble right now. So I get it. Something needs to change. Something needs to give. Yeah.
I know, and we have like such like nostalgia and connection to a lot of these conventions. Coming to A-Fest was actually the first reason I ever came to Dallas in my life. Yeah, so like I'm from Houston originally, and so I drove up from Houston to visit Dallas, and I'd never been in my life before that. Houston's so far away, I guess if you're not going to anime conventions, you don't really go to...
It's a long drive.
Yeah, so A-Fest was my first one, and I have such fond memories of like the Sheraton and like the food court connected, and like the tunnels and the Marriott and all that. So yeah, no, I mean, I have fond memories, and honestly I was so surprised because they moved locations, and like usually when you move locations, you're signing a contract for 3 years. That's like the standard. And based on that, I was like, oh, so maybe they had to reorganize and restructure from when they were at the Sheraton in downtown Dallas. They're moving to Arlington, where it's not as expensive, but it's a brand new hotel. They're probably going to breathe some life into the convention with a new place to be, and they're going to reset and just have that as their new location going forward. So I thought that they were locked in and like good for like the foreseeable at least 3 years. So when they said, oh yeah, last year ever, I was like, what?
Yeah,
That's
I wonder
crazy.
how much it's going to cost them to break that contract.
Oh, so yeah, that's because I guess they might, I guess based on that, you're implying they have one. So
maybe they're doing a month-to-month billing.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm still really excited because like I think like we said, this A-Fest is probably going to be really well attended. I'd imagine.
In spite of it being next to the baseball stadium where there's a game that weekend.
We don't talk about that. 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 Oh my God, is there really?
So it's an away game. However, they do host you able to go to the stadium and watch the game.
Okay, so not as bad though. Not as bad.
It's not going to be as bad, but it will still be busy.
Okay, well,
yeah,
I think it's gonna be a lot of people because I think a lot of people, everyone I've talked to, it's like, oh well, I wasn't sure I was gonna go, but given it's the last year, I'm gonna go because like they have to. It's like you have to go to this convention one more time that we had our whole lives, or at least our whole cosplay lives, and see it one more time. So I'm excited. I feel like really lucky to be a guest at the very last one. It is kind of sad in a sense, like we said, but I mean, I am kind of excited to be a guest at the last A-Fest because I'm sure it's gonna probably go out with a bang one way or another. So
regardless of what happens, it'll be an experience that you will definitely remember.
Yeah, so I'm excited. We'll see, but I hope I get to see both of you guys there.
I wasn't even planning on it because I was like, it's gonna be in Arlington next to the baseball stadium.
And it's in July, which is the second hottest part of the year.
Yeah.
I've been to a con over there once before and I was like, I'm never doing this again. That was a terrible idea. But it's like, oh man, for A-Fest, maybe I should like.
It is a brand new hotel, so that's kind of exciting.
That is kind of nice. It is a nice, it'll be a nice new hotel that we can trash.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I mean,
that everybody else will trash.
I mean, the TikTokers hopefully aren't in full force, jumping off the walls and putting holes in places.
Oh God, no, your bands, no, don't, please don't.
Don't go in the pools with body paint, people.
Oh my God.
Has been hotel people, please don't do that.
Oh my God, and literally I'm probably gonna be wearing this at A-Fest, jumping the pool. No, it'll be fine. Okay,
it's like A-Fest tradition.
Right.
Oh my God.
Lord.
We're gonna go to the guest question.
Okay.
And then hi Cosplay Crunch. I have loved listening in so far and hope you pick my question for an episode. Well, guess what, sis?
Hey.
We picked it. Not that there was like, a plethora to choose from. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm happy. Please submit questions. We love questions. I have thought a lot about what I have done so far in cosplay and where I want to go / what I want to do next. I have dreams to make specific costume builds, but I'd also like to travel to conventions outside of my state and maybe try competing more frequently in costume masquerades. What are some of your cosplay goals or bucket lists to complete for yourself as a cosplayer? Thanks again. Ooh. So for both of you, what are some of your cosplay goals or bucket list cosplay things that you want to do and see yourself doing at some point?
That's hard. That's hard because I've already achieved some of them.
What's one of the biggest ones you've achieved so far?
I wanted to go to BlizzCon and actually have a Blizzard costume, and I did that. That's been done. I wanted to walk across the stage at one of the Final Fantasy fan festivals. I've done that. I wanted to enter WonderCon and win their Star Wars prize. I did that. So there's a couple of things I've already done on my bucket list. Oh God, I'm gonna have to think about it for like
Amber,
costumes.
Do you have any
stuff
that you can think of?
I only have one bucket list cosplay, and it is Palutena from Super Smash. I don't know if I will ever do it, just because of how complicated that costume is.
Mm-hmm.
But my bucket list isn't so much cosplays as it is I want to try every technique in cosplay at least once. So I still have a lot of things on my list. Soldering is the next technique on my list, and then leatherworking after that. I just finished my first attempt at millinery. Failed miserably. That's fine.
That stuff's hard.
I failed my first attempt at this hat too. Yeah.
I have done corsetry now, and so that was on my bucket list. And so I just want to keep going down the list of like all the different techniques you have to know for cosplay and try each one at least once.
Yeah, I think mine, I still want to attend a international convention because I've never
Oh,
been.
okay.
I've never been to a con in Canada or Mexico even. So I would love to go to an international con to experience the different cosplay culture and like how
Hmm.
that looks in that space.
Definitely.
Although it is kind of hard to, it costs a lot to do that, right? And it's a little hard to justify like taking a vacation and then being like, oh, but we're gonna go to an anime convention.
Right.
So I guess the stars would have to align pretty well for that to happen. But
Oh,
that's
now that
one.
you've
And then
said that, I want to go and meet Chris from World Cosplay Summit.
Oh.
That's on my bucket list. I want to
love.
meet Chris San from World Cosplay
Chris
Summit.
Chris-san is has an amazing and wonderful voice, and I would just want to be like, thank you for always being the presenter. You are wonderful.
Exactly.
No, yeah. Well, on that note, I do want to try to compete in World Cosplay Summit one year. I think that's something I've always wanted to do. I think that they've had some like weird like controversy. I don't know if that is the best word to put it, with like Saudi Arabia and like all
Yeah,
of this.
there's some
And
question stuff going
I'm not
on
even
there.
like educated enough to talk on that, but like I think just in concept, I would like to do that one year because I think it would push me out of my comfort zone from a skit perspective, and I think it'd be a really good opportunity. So I'll be able to see it for the very first time in person this summer, which is exciting.
Oh,
But
that'll be
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
That's always a fun experience.
Do you have anything, Val, that you've thought of that you really want to get done or really want to see or experience as it pertains to cosplay before you pack it all up and throw it in the dumpster? No. And, sell it at the swap meet.
Instead of the swap meet. You know what? The way I look at it is the older that I get, the more I can be like a Ghibli character and be like the old grandmas. And like, I am on board with that. I think that would be great. So I'm like, I'm going to keep cosplaying until I hit to a point where I physically can't move anymore. I want to keep doing it because even if I don't get a chance to wear the costumes, I still enjoy the creative process of it. I love the sewing. I love doing the wigs. On occasion, I like doing the props, not all the time. But I mean, the aspect of just working with my hands and making the thing is still so much fun to me.
Yeah.
The bucket list costume that I have, and I don't think I'll ever get to it, is Demona from Gargoyles. I have always wanted to make that.
I would be lying if I said I know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like.
She is this beautiful gargoyle, purple skin, bright red hair, voiced by Marina Sirtis from Star Trek: The Next Generation. I adore her. She is wonderful, but just trying to, and I've seen people cosplay her, and it's great. Just trying to get it in my head how to make all of that happen, because it would be a lot of new techniques for me, and standing in a very awkward position to make sure I get those nice little weird leg things happening, and like, can I really do this right now?
Yeah, no, I get you. Like that was my whole thing with like making Sidon or like thinking about making him. It's very similar like vibes. It's like, oh my god, this is like, the more you know, the less confident you are sometimes.
You feel about it. And I know way too much about crafting now that I'm like, I'm not very confident in this.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are good answers. Like new experiences, learning new techniques, always learning, making new costumes. I think that those are all things. And then like, yeah, I think, I don't know, international cosplay, maybe one day. We'll see. That is everything I had. I'm gonna go and do the outro, and then I'll come to you guys at the end for last thoughts. So yeah, thank you for joining another episode of the Cosplay Crunch. If you would like to ask a question to one of our lovely talented guests, please email us at cosplaycrunchpod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Cosplay Crunch Podcast for the latest podcast news and announcements, as well as on cosplaycrunch.com and also on YouTube at the Cosplay Crunch Podcast. Also, rate us on Spotify. It helps, I think, with pushing the show to new people. Amber and Val and the CosPod team, do you have any parting words for our listeners, and where can they find each of you and also your show online?
Well, I guess my parting words is going to be just do it. Just cosplay. There's your reason for cosplaying. Just do it. Don't worry about price. Don't worry about cost. Don't worry about, is this going to be popular? Is this going to make me Instagram famous? None of that matters. Put on the costume, go do your thing, be happy.
Yeah. Amber, parting words?
I would say be kind to yourself.
Yes.
It's okay if the costume isn't perfect. It's okay if it doesn't fit you perfectly. If you need to take a day off and get some sleep, that's perfectly fine too. Just above all things, be kind to yourself while you're working on your cosplay.
Love. And then where can they find you on your show and you on the internets?
Say, Amber, you want to start yours part, then I'll start my part.
Yeah, Amber, where can we find CosPod on the interwebs?
So, of course, if you would like to find us, we have plenty of social media, which, of course, you can find here.
Since this is not our actual show, we are on the Cosplay Crunch. Let me tell you all the stuff. You can find us on cospod.org, on Facebook and Instagram at Cosplay Podcast, on YouTube at CosPodcast, and on Blue Sky at CosPod.
Oh,
you can also email us.
Yeah.
podcast@cospod.org, where you get an answer from each one of us, along with curated Nick Cage memes, because he is apparently the unofficial mascot of our show.
He's the Patreon of CosPod.
He is the patron of our show.
Oh my God. Does that align with Pride Month? I don't know. I think
Happy coincidence.
I think so. And then, oh my gosh, check boxes. Oh, and then Val, where can people find you if they want to follow your cosplay progress online?
Well, if you want to follow my stuff, you can find me on Facebook under Tifaia, Tifaia. Literally, if you just type that in anywhere, I have that handle at all the stuff in places. So Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky.
Perfect. And I'm peer pressuring both of you to go to A-Fest to see the listeners in person.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, it'd be really fun. And also to see you, Val, since I've seen you in forever. And
it's been a while.
Person. Yeah. So anyway, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
All right. We're done. I'm going to stop it.
Woo!
The Cosplay Crunch podcast is hosted by Savage Cosplay, with post-production also by Savage Cosplay. Original theme music by Katie Fairbanks. Logo and graphic design by Owl and Coffee.